Soccer kicks. Let's start with a move so savage, it looks like it belongs on a battlefield, not in a cage. The soccer kick. And no, this isn't your local Sunday league tap to the ankle. We're talking full-on football strikes to the skull of a grounded opponent. Imagine someone on all fours, already dazed, and their opponent launching a shin bone missile right to the temple. In Pride FC, this wasn't just legal, it was a signature. Legends like Wanderlei Silva and Shogun Rua built careers dropping bombs on the heads of helpless foes. But once the unified rules of MMA came into effect, especially in North America, soccer kicks were banned almost instantly. The optics were too violent and the safety risks too great. Under these rules, if your opponent has anything other than their feet on the ground, hand, knee, backside, you're not allowed to strike the head with your foot or knee. Even One Championship, which inherited some of Pride's chaotic energy, requires fighters to give a visible hand signal to the ref before launching a soccer kick, basically asking permission before trying to punt someone's consciousness into the crowd. The move is undeniably brutal, but also undeniably effective. Dangerous? Absolutely. Entertaining? Without question. But if you want a long-term UFC career, leave the Ronaldo cosplay at the door. 12-6 elbows. The infamous 12-6 elbow is a perfect example of rules built on misinformation. Picture a clock, your elbow going straight down from the 12 position to 6. Sounds simple, right? Not exactly terrifying, but the rule's origin is almost laughable. Early athletic commissions saw demos of martial artists breaking bricks with this motion and decided it must be deathly dangerous. The result? An oddly specific ban that made no sense when spinning back elbows and knees to the head was still legal. Jon Jones, arguably the greatest of all time, has one loss on his record because of this very rule. He was dominating Matt Hamill before landing illegal 12-6 elbows and getting disqualified. It's been a hot topic ever since. Finally, in November 2024, the rule was changed, making this elbow legal again under the updated unified rules. This means fighters now have access to one of the most natural and effective ground and pound strikes. It's a victory for logic, even if it came a couple decades late. No more awkward ref stoppages for a move that looked scarier than it actually was. Knees to the head of a grounded opponent. Let's talk about the most confusing rule in all of MMA, also known as the almost legal move. According to the unified rules, you can't knee your opponent in the head if they're grounded. But what does grounded mean? It could be a knee, a hand, even just a couple fingertips grazing the mat. If any part of their body besides the soles of their feet is touching the ground, those knees are off limits. This has led to countless awkward moments in the octagon. Fighters have learned to play the game by dropping a hand just in time to avoid being kneed, creating bizarre scenes where someone is clearly stalling, but technically following the rules. It kills the momentum of fights, frustrates fans, and often leaves referees in no-win situations. Interestingly, in Pride and One Championship, knees to the head of a grounded opponent are allowed, and nobody's exploding into dust. So, is the rule really about safety or just outdated thinking? Many fighters and fans alike have called for change, and in some international promotions, that change is already happening. The UFC, still on the fence, literally and figuratively. Fish hooking. Fish hooking is as low as it gets. An absolutely barbaric move that has zero place in modern martial arts. It involves digging your fingers into your opponent's mouth, nostrils, or cheeks and pulling. Not to set up a choke or strike, but simply to manipulate their head or inflict pain. It's more torture than technique. This isn't something you'll see in high-level competition today, but in the early Wild West days of MMA, back when gloves were optional and groin strikes were fair game, fish hooking did happen. Now it's universally banned. Fighters caught doing it are immediately warned or penalized. If it's seen as intentional, you're looking at disqualification or worse. There's no gray area here. This isn't some misunderstood move with a strategic angle. It's flat out dirty, and every legitimate MMA organization treats it as such. Groin strikes. The ultimate low blow. No man wants to be remembered for throwing or receiving a groin shot. But in the chaos of a fight, it happens more often than you'd think. Inside leg kicks, knees to the body, and even stray punches can accidentally go south. And when they do, everything stops. Fighters are allowed up to 5 minutes to recover, but let's be real. Most of the time, that pain sticks around long after the clock runs out. It can change the entire outcome of a fight. One illegal shot can turn a confident striker into a hobbling mess. Back in the early UFC days, groin shots were actually legal. No cups, no rules, just straight savagery. Fighters would even target the groin strategically. Thankfully, we've evolved. Now, even an accidental strike earns a warning, and repeated infractions can cost you a point or the fight itself. Spiking. Also known as pile driving, spiking your opponent is one of the fastest ways to get disqualified. It involves slamming them headfirst into the mat, especially with their neck compressed and spine aligned vertically. Think WWE's pile driver, but without the theatrics or stunt doubles. The danger is real. A poorly timed or positioned slam can cause broken necks, paralysis, or worse. That's why the unified rules ban spiking in all forms, unless it happens during a natural motion, like a takedown that goes wrong. In those cases, it's up to the ref to determine intent, but make no mistake, if it looks intentional, you're done. No crowd-pleasing KO is worth a career-ending injury. This is one move where the risk just isn't worth the reward. Eye gouging. Eye gouging is one of the oldest and dirtiest tricks in combat. In the days of gladiators, it was considered fair play. Today, still banned, still dangerous, and still a massive problem, mostly in the form of accidental eye pokes. Longer fighters often use extended fingers to manage distance, but those fingers sometimes wander into opponents' eyes. The result? Scratched corneas, blurred vision, or even career-threatening damage. Fights have ended this way. Just ask Belal Muhammad or Michael Bisping, who has permanent eye damage. Modern MMA gloves are being redesigned to prevent pokes, curving the fingers more naturally. But until they're universally adopted, expect eye pokes to remain one of the most annoying and dangerous fouls in the game. Grabbing the fence. Grabbing the fence is the most common cheat in MMA. You'll see it almost every fight night. A takedown is coming, and the defending fighter instinctively grabs the cage. 1 second of grip can stop a takedown cold, keeping them on their feet and in control. Refs will shout, slap the hand away, maybe even warn the fighter, but rarely deduct points on the first offense. This makes it a smart foul. The risk is small, the reward is huge. Unfortunately, that undermines the fairness of the sport. Some fighters have lost rounds or even fights because of one fence grab. It's not as visually brutal as a groin shot or eye poke, but it might be the most effective cheat in MMA. Stool-stalling. Let's talk about one of the most legendary moments of rule bending in MMA, Stoolgate. In 2014, Yoel Romero was rocked and nearly finished by Tim Kennedy at the end of round 2. But when the third round was supposed to start, Romero stayed on his stool. His corner casually forgot to remove it, slathered on too much Vaseline, and gave him nearly a full extra minute to recover. The ref didn't force him up, the fight wasn't stopped, and Romero came out swinging in round 3 like nothing happened, eventually winning by TKO. Fans were stunned, Kennedy was furious, and MMA history got one of its most iconic moments of gamesmanship. Was it dirty? Yeah. Was it genius? Also, yeah. Greasing. Greasing is the art of becoming the human equivalent of a bar of soap. Fighters, or their corners, apply substances like Vaseline or lotion to parts of the body to make themselves harder to grab. It's illegal, unethical, and extremely hard to detect, unless you're up close and personal. The most infamous greasing scandal, George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn 2. Penn's team accused GSP of being overly slick, especially during grappling exchanges. While the accusations were never conclusively proven, they led to much tighter rules. Today, only officials can apply Vaseline, and only to the face. If a fighter is caught greasing, they're not just risking a warning, they're risking their reputation. This is one of those fouls that screams insecurity. If you need to cheat to slip out of danger, maybe you're in the wrong sport. MMA's banned moves are wild, brutal, and sometimes controversial. But should they all stay banned? Drop your take in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more fight breakdowns. Catch you in the next one.